Now then, we've got a leaning ash here at about 50 degrees, and this is just as an example. I know a lot of you old boys would just be, oh, it's alright, just cut it, but this is an example of a dogtooth cut. So where you've got a leaning tree, if you do a normal sink cut and then cut from the back, there's a chance that the top end weighs so much that before the hinge becomes flexible enough to bend, the top starts to move and the tree will split right up the middle. And if you just happen to have your head in the wrong place, you get smacked in the head. It's a bit like a trebuchet. And as one of the guys I was assessing quite a long time said quite succinctly, he said, the tree goes before its time and so do you. So we have methods of sorting this out. First of all, it's a very small sink cut, and a lot of people have the tendency to put it in the wrong place, to start too high up. And then the next thing is you bore through the middle of the tree, leaving, and then move up to a position where you leave a hinge, then you come back and you leave a hold at the back, and then so the tree is then stable, the hold at the back is holding it, but the hinge is the correct dimensions, and then of course when you're ready you just cut that hold at the back. So I'm just going to do it. Just bear in mind it's got to be a small sink cut. So let's just see how we get on. If I can, I will move the camera from side to side, but let's just see. And as you can see there, the bottom of the sink cut is level and it's a small sink cut. Let's go around the other side of the tree. So what we do is we start like that and then come round as you bore in down to the rivets. And you've got to bear in mind that you want to be parallel with the sink cut. There's no point going off at an angle. So you don't want to be too far forward. You need to end up with a good hinge. So there we go. So I'm going to move the camera around to the other side now, so you can see the bar coming out the other side of the sink cut. Okay, so we have a hinge at the front and I've moved back, and we have a hold at the back. Okay, a little bit tricky to film this. Now we've got an extra bit to deal with here. I think I need to move the camera back. Okay, so now if I try and cut the hold like that, my shoulder's next to the tree. Okay, but if we go round the other side and cut it like that, I'm further away from the tree practically by the width of my body, because otherwise the saw is that side. So you've got to choose which side to stand, and of course that will mean that your escape route is slightly different, so you've got to think about that. So effectively, on most instances, you need to be on the right of the tree and your escape route at 45 degrees backwards, unless of course there's something in the way or the tree's leaning in a slightly strange way. So let's cut this. And as usual, it's got hung up, but you see the principle. Now the other thing is, a lot of people tend to start cutting that hold far too high. You want to be about 45 degrees, no more than that. It's all about the amount of timber that you're going to cut. The higher up you go, the more you're cutting down the grain rather than across the grain, and the more timber you're cutting through. Anyway, there you go. There's an example of how to deal with a heavily leaning tree. Okay, it's a small tree, but on a slightly bigger one it's more important. Remember, the tree goes before its time, and so do you. And I've just removed the tree to reveal the hinge, and there was the hinge. Yep, nice and straight and parallel, and of course you always cut the dog tooth off so it's less of a trip hazard. But the main thing is that's nice and parallel. So I bored through and came up to the hinge and then came back and then cut that off, standing at the right side at about 45 degrees. Not great steep thing, and of course it's easy enough to see where your cuts finished, so it's just a matter of cutting down to them. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and found it informative, and again, it's part of a refresher for the NPTC chainsaw assessment. Catch up with you soon. Like and subscribe. Cheers for now.